Vikings, let's win this game.
All right, gather around because the temperature around this team just jumped about 20 degrees. An AFC squad has its eyes locked on a key weapon in our offense. There's a real tug-of-war brewing over who's grabbing the headset and calling the shots. A quarterback prospect is dividing scouts like a Thanksgiving dinner argument. A serious name is floating around to juice up the run game. And on top of all that, there's a breakdown of 10 free agents who could flip the whole purple and gold blueprint on its head. Buckle up, we're diving straight in. When I first saw this rumor, it hit me like somebody flipped the lights off mid-sentence. This isn't random message board chatter. Legit voices are saying a desperate contender could knock on Minnesota's door with a serious offer. We're talking about a premium draft pick for a dynamic playmaker. Then you hear it, Jordan Addison. The Buffalo Bills are reportedly ready to ship a second-round pick plus a conditional fifth-rounder to get him. That's real value. And you can already hear Vikings fans splitting like a cracked windshield. Some are yelling, take the picks and move on. Others are saying, have you lost your mind? That dude changes games. I'm torn, I won't lie. It's that uneasy feeling like waiting on medical test results. Buffalo's logic is simple. They're tired of asking Josh Allen to be Superman every snap. Addison beats man coverage. He's polished. He's ready right now. No training wheels. But on our side, it's more complicated. Addison's had multiple off-field situations. A speeding citation in 2023. A DUI-related arrest in 2024 that was reduced. A trespassing issue in 2026 that got dismissed. The NFL still gave him a 3-game suspension in 2025 tied to that 2024 arrest. That all factors in when you're talking about a fifth-year option. If you're unsure about a long-term extension, flipping him for draft capital becomes tempting. That's why this is surfacing now. Talent-wise, no debate. In 3 seasons, he's stacked 175 catches, 2,396 yards, and 22 touchdowns. That's production carved in stone. He pairs beautifully with Jefferson. He stretches coverage deep and wins underneath. He can swing momentum faster than a sudden storm. Trade him, and what happens? You're banking on a rookie to grow up overnight as wide receiver too. You're leaning harder on the tight end. You're squeezing the quarterback even more, whoever that ends up being, and we're already juggling uncertainty at that spot. Creating another gap could backfire in a hurry. Still, a second-rounder is powerful currency. That could fortify the offensive line, reinforce the secondary, or add a defensive disruptor. The conditional fifth is extra gravy if it hits. The front office also has to weigh locker room chemistry. Sometimes keeping a player drains energy, sometimes it sends a message of belief. So I'm asking you straight up, do you pull that trigger today or bolt the door shut? Drop your take below, because this debate is about to catch fire. And stick with me, this isn't recycled talking points. This is Vikings fan truth, raw and honest. And what's coming next goes straight to the heartbeat of the franchise. Here's what drives me nuts every offseason. Folks talk like the quarterback position will magically sort itself out. That's fantasy. The Vikings need someone to push J.J. McCarthy. Real pressure. No gift-wrapped job. Enter Daniel Jones, a guy who's been in this building and knows the playbook, but he's currently with the Indianapolis Colts, and most signs point to him staying put. The real issue isn't just ability, it's perception. If by year 3 you're still hedging on McCarthy, what message echoes through that locker room? Ryan Wilson on CBS said Kevin O'Connell would absolutely value someone like Jones in the room. I get it, but if the staff is quietly doubting McCarthy, that's bigger than any depth chart. I don't want a repeat of 2025. Missing the playoffs again would sting like stepping on a nail. Still, McCarthy isn't finished yet. Injuries slowed him. Watching instead of playing can mess with confidence. Competition can sharpen steel, but it has to sharpen, not crack it. Let me say this plainly. If Jones is viewed internally as the main fallback for a stretch of games, that raises eyebrows. And don't forget, he's coming off an Achilles tear. That's major. Sure, he could rebound, but that's a lot of uncertainty. Emery Hunt liked the system fit because of familiarity, but even he pointed out the recovery question. You could sign him and still be waiting. So why is his name sticking around? Because O'Connell has a reputation for elevating quarterbacks. The scheme fits. Veterans notice that. But then comes the cap reality. Minnesota isn't sitting on a mountain of cash. Every veteran deal means something else doesn't get funded. Offensive line, defense, depth. And it's not just Jones. Kyler Murray's name is out there too if the Cardinals move on. Alec Lewis framed it as a fork in the road. Murray might want a long-term deal somewhere flush with money, or maybe he'd consider a shorter prove-it contract in a strong setup. That move would tilt the entire offense on its axis. It raises the ceiling and the risk. Bottom line, McCarthy needs direction, O'Connell needs results, and fans need clarity. Lingering at quarterback is like driving with the parking brake on. And speaking of quarterbacks, the next topic is a prospect creating buzz, with a caution sign flashing bright red. Before we go there, let me ask you something quick. If you're riding with this channel, lock it in. Hit that subscribe button and stay in the huddle with us. It doesn't cost you a dime and it keeps this community growing. All right, back to it. This time of year feels like musical chairs at quarterback. One week a guy's a sleeper, next week he's climbing boards like a rocket, and sometimes hype builds a house on sand. The name floating around now is Cole Payton. I'm not talking about using a top pick on him like he's the savior. The conversation started after he impressed at the Senior Bowl. Scouts are intrigued. Some projections have him sneaking into the second round. That's where I pause. His profile fits what teams drool over. He's mobile, quick out of trouble. When he's in rhythm, he zips accurate throws between the hashes. He's sturdy too, 6'2", 221 pounds, and he ran in college like a freight train. 1,919 rushing yards and 31 touchdowns. That's wild production for a quarterback. But let's separate gadget from general. The comparison floating around is Taysom Hill. Stylistically, it lines up. Hill disrupts defenses in spurts. He runs, throws, catches, but he didn't take over for Drew Brees. He became a weapon, not the centerpiece. That matters. And here's another truth. Payton has just one full season as a starter. One. In 2025, North Dakota State went 12-1 with him leading the charge. Nice record, but limited tape, and at a level where his team often had the edge. The leap to NFL defenses is massive. Some mocks even slot him as the second-best quarterback behind Fernando Mendoza. That feels like overreaction. If the combine sends him skyrocketing, I don't want Minnesota chasing that balloon. His arm isn't elite. He carries the ball low, which in the pros turns into strip sacks fast. He tucks and runs early, cutting off deeper reads. 16 passing touchdowns against 14 interceptions. That ratio speaks loudly. I'm not saying he has no value. He does, just in the right range. Day 3, late pick, developmental piece. Situational spark in O'Connell's playbook. I can already imagine a funky red zone wrinkle. So here's my line. If he's affordable, fine. If he costs premium draft stock, no thanks. Where do you place him on your board? Sound off because I want to hear it. And hang tight because we're staying on offense. But now we're talking about a potential headliner. Every draft season you think you know the script. Trenches here, edge rusher there. Then something shakes the table. The run game in 2025 left us stranded too often. No clock control. No punishment when defenses lightened the box. It kept turning into bail us out through the air. That's exhausting. Now there's real smoke connecting Minnesota to Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love. Charles Davis mocked him to the Vikings at pick 18 and even asked if teams are undervaluing running backs again. If Love is truly top 3 in the class, you don't ignore that because of position trends. You draft the difference maker and build around him. O'Connell's creativity could unleash him. A back like that bends defenses. It fuels play action. It freezes linebackers just long enough to rip them apart. Love even said he'd be blessed to land in Minnesota and spoke highly of the roster. Sure, prospects are polished with words, but he didn't sound reluctant about purple and gold. Now let's get serious. Aaron Jones Sr. is here. Respected, productive, but time spares nobody. Wear and tear adds up. If you want to compete in 2026, you need a run game with teeth. Not just modest gains, explosive chunks. Using pick 18 on a back only works if the staff believes he transforms the offense instantly. Not decent, transformative. Alec Lewis mentioned best player available. If you're confident at a 70% hit rate on a premium weapon, that's rare air. Still, free agency offers another path. Robert Turbin floated Kenneth Walker III as a fit if McCarthy is under center. That would bring balance and explosiveness. He also mentioned Jordan Mason as a bruising complement, but Walker is the lightning bolt. Problem? Cost. The market becomes a bidding war. Minnesota has other needs, center, secondary, depth. So what's the move? Draft Love at 18 and preserve cap flexibility? Or spend big on Walker and address another hole in April? All I know is this. The offense cannot keep stalling when the pass gets taken away. Fear in the backfield changes everything. Love does that. Walker does that. Ignoring it isn't an option. And the next piece ties it together with a free agency board that could reshape the entire roster overnight. When the market opens, it's like the opening bell on Wall Street. Fast hands win. Minnesota has real gaps to fill. Center, safety, corner, maybe even receiver. That's the reality for a team aiming at the 2026 playoffs. At center, Tyler Linderbaum headlines the discussion. Young, strong in the run game, elite traits, but projections put him north of $70 million over 4 years. Big check, especially when he surrendered 26 pressures last season. Worth it or too steep? Connor McGovern offers flexibility. Can play guard, steadier price, solid in both phases. Not flashy, but dependable. Then there's Cade Mays and Luke Fortner as more economical options with experience. This becomes philosophy. Swing for premium talent or spread resources smartly. At receiver, Rashid Shaheed stands out. Field stretcher, return value, 0 drops last season. Around $39 million over 3 years projected. Marquise Brown could be a shorter, cheaper play, close to 600 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. Not Jefferson level, but speed in the third slot matters. And here's where the dominoes line up. Sign Shaheed, and suddenly trading Jordan Addison for picks becomes more plausible. Every move is connected. On defense, if Harrison Smith retires, that's both emotional and schematic loss. Kobe Bryant's name pops up, converted from corner to safety, 4 interceptions on a championship defense, projected about $10 million per year. Young legs in the back end. Asante Samuel Jr. is another option, coming off a serious neck injury but showing life on return. Could be a savvy short-term bet for Brian Flores. Eric Stokes enters as corner depth behind Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers. Reasonable cost, needed reinforcement. Secondary depth isn't luxury, it's survival. At tight end, if TJ Hawkinson's deal isn't adjusted and the cap hit bites hard, Greg Dulcich surfaces as a young alternative. 6'4", strong yards per route, room to grow. Free agency isn't shopping for shiny toys. It's engineering. Overspend at center and safety suffers. Splurge at receiver and corner thins out. One miscalculation can derail a season. When negotiations open, this won't just define contracts, it defines identity. A team that pounds the rock. A team that shields its quarterback. A team that locks down late. This isn't gossip. It's blueprint territory. Take a breath, because this offseason is shaping more than just the depth chart. Step back and look at the whole board for a second. This isn't only about Jordan Addison. It's not just Daniel Jones or Cole Payton. Not just Jeremiah Love or a shopping list of free agents. It's about who the Vikings decide to be when 2026 kicks off. Do we lean into calculated aggression and accelerate the climb, or play it cautious and hover in almost? This fan base in purple and gold has watched too many seasons slip through our fingers like melting snow. Eventually, bold moves stop being risky and start being necessary. I still see a high ceiling with this roster, but a ceiling means nothing without direction. Pick a lane, commit to it. Now I want your voice in this. Drop your take below, because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Are you pushing the chips in now, or stacking them patiently? The next era of this franchise is taking shape as we speak. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.